The Miami Dolphins have done what I think is a really good job over the past couple of years, moving around assets, garnering or gathering that draft capital to really make a run at this long rebuild that they've tried to go through. What did you think about their draft overall this year, Tony?
I think early on they filled holes with some real good prospects, guys that got a lot of upside, but players that may need some work. I thought later on they got some good value. I mean, they really didn't have a lot of picks on day three. Because of all the maneuvering and the trading that they've done over the course of the past couple of years. But I think early on, there's a lot of potential in this year's draft for the Dolphins.
Yeah, out of all of the selections that they made, Tony, who do you think was your favorite of the Miami Dolphins selections?
Probably Jevon Holland, the 36th selection from Oregon. Granted, he did opt out, so he's a bit undeveloped. But if you're looking for a real good cover safety, which is what the Dolphins need, a guy that you can line up over the slot receiver and he won't be a liability, a guy that, has ball skills that are good enough to be considered at cornerback, as Jevon Holland himself will tell you. When you get that type of player, especially at the top of round two, I think that's real good value. Granted, he's got to develop or take off from where he was in 2019 because he didn't play last year, but he's got a large amount of upside. I like his game a lot.
And let's get to the top of their draft, filling those holes. They needed a wide receiver. They needed somebody who had speed and could separate from defenders on this Miami Dolphins team, and they went with Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, well, I think you got to start from the beginning, because we had been reporting for Pro Football Network all along that the Dolphins did not want to take an opt-out player early in the draft. Then they made that move to 6. And the question is, who were they going to take? Again, they stayed true to that because they could have selected Penei Sewell. They passed on Penei Sewell and they selected Jalen Waddle, who did not opt out. Waddle is an incredible talent. I mean, he's got great upside, but he's got a very undeveloped game. Really didn't develop in 2019 because of the fact that there was so much depth at the receiver position for the Alabama Crimson Tide that he was the number 4 guy there. And then, this year his game was about to take off. And he gets hurt. He's sidelined with that significant ankle injury. Comes back to play during the national championship game. Why? I don't know. Why they ever put him on the field, I thought was absolutely foolish. But the guy is football fast. He's an explosive athlete. He can hit the home run. He can help you also as a return specialist. You occasionally run the reverse with him. The thing is Waddle is not a polished product. He's got a guy that's going to have to improve his route running skills. He needs more work. He needs more experience, which he hasn't been able to get the past 2 years at Alabama, and most of the times due to no fault of his own.
And then, with their next pick, still in the first round, they went with, we talked about it with Buffalo with Gregory Rousseau. They went with his teammate in Jalen Phillips.
Yeah, I knew that they were going to take an edge rusher. I'd said it all along. We broke the news of Pro Football Network. That was going to be the way, even though people thought it may be Najee Harris. I thought it may have been 𝗠𝗢𝗡. They take Jalen Phillips. Again, sort of like Waddle, he's an explosive edge rusher. He's fast up the field. He's an intense guy. I really like his game. Gives effort against the run, but he doesn't have a big body of work, and he's got a lot of injuries. Injuries that the, Miami medical staff was not able to check out because he didn't go to the combine medicals due to a positive COVID test. Now, Miami Dolphin headquarters is right down the road from the Miami Hurricane headquarters. So I'm sure there was some sharing of information there, which kind of eased the Dolphins' concerns about his medical condition, primarily the concussions, which led to his retirement from football when he was at UCLA. But again, like Jalen Waddle, he's a guy who's got a tremendous amount of upside. He can impact the game as a pass rusher. He can eventually develop into a 3-down player. Like Waddle, great upside, but really needs more work, needs some polish, and needs to prove that he can stay healthy in the long run.
And so they drafted Jevon Holland after that, and I was just wondering if you had anything else that you wanted to talk about with him before we got to Liam Eichenberg.
No, I mean, I know everyone, Moehrig was the number 1 safety on everyone's board. I think Moehrig, who fell because of back issues, is a little stouter at the point, a little stouter against the run, but he doesn't have the ball skills as Jevon Holland. I think the Dolphins are going to be very pleased with this selection.
Yeah, and so after that, they did go with Liam Eichenberg, who I assume is going to start at right tackle with them sliding Robert Hunt into guard.
It'll be interesting to see. Because Tua is a left-handed quarterback. So if you start Liam Eichenberg at right tackle, it's basically like your left tackle, if you will. He's going to be protecting Tua's blind side, and I don't like Eichenberg in that sort of scenario. I would rather have you have Austin Jackson as your blind side protector, and Eichenberg as your right tackle. I mean, I like Eichenberg. I was never overly high on him. There were some people who thought he was a first-round choice. I had him in the mid-40s on my board. That's exactly where he went. I think he's more of a traditional right tackle prospect, not a right tackle for a left-handed quarterback, maybe a guard. He's going to compete. They've got some options there, with Jackson, with Solomon Kindley, with Robert Hunt. They're building a good offensive line with good young players at Miami. We'll have to wait and see how it pans out.
Yeah, and then after that, they went with tight end Hunter Long. Were you surprised by this at all because they already had Mike Gesicki?
No, because I think Hunter Long is a better blocker than Gesicki. I think Hunter Long, again, I think he was overrated in some quarters. I had him as a fourth rounder. He went in the third. He's basically you get what you see type of tight end. He's a solid pass catcher, but he's not a downfield threat. He's a real tough guy that will go over the middle, get up in a crowd, compete to come away with the contested catch, and usually does come away with the contested catch. He's a terrific blocker. So I think, with a two tight end set or a guy like Hunter Long who could be a real good number two tight end, I think it makes a lot of sense. You give Tua more underneath weapons, reliable weapons, and on those third and short situations or in the goal line situations, you put Hunter Long on the line of scrimmage, he's going to do a good job for you as a blocker.
And then, like you said, they didn't have many assets on day 3. They had 2 selections, both in the 7th round. They went with Larnell Coleman from UMass with the first one.
Coleman was given draftable grades coming into the season, a late round pick. That's exactly where he went and went in the last 30 picks of the draft. I mean, he's a developmental guy who I think is probably going to push inside to play guard. He's got some athleticism, but I think he's destined for the practice squad.
And then they finished their draft off by going with Jared Dokes from Cincinnati, the running back.
A guy who can play running back, a guy who can line up as a blocking fullback. He's a pure downhill ball carrier that really does a good job picking up the difficult yardage. Not going to be able to turn the perimeter with him. Not a real creative ball carrier, but someone who's smart with good vision and very strong on the inside.
And then they didn't do much in free agency, but were there any names that really stood out to you?
I think, maybe Jerome Johnson, the defensive tackle from Indiana, who's a high intense type of guy. Someone who I think can compete as your 7th or 8th defensive lineman, or could end up on the practice squad.
This was the Miami Dolphins draft reaction.